Education, nostalgia, and other vegetables. A Dvar Torah for Parashat Behaalotcha. As educators, teachers, parents, and role models in general, we often encounter the need for empathy towards the rebellious educatee who has just sinned. The motto, do not judge a man until you've walked a mile in his shoes, or in Chazal's version, do not judge a friend until you've reached his place, is indeed a torch by which many educators live. Still, despite its importance, there's a danger that can arise as a result of justified empathy, and in my opinion, it finds expression in the different interpretations of three commentators on Chet HaMit'avim. The sin itself is explicit in the Torah. The Aspesוף complains that it doesn't have meat, fish, and other vegetables, to which the answer is, and a wind from Hashem brought quails, followed by a punishment. Hashem struck the people with a very great plague, makah rabba me'od. The question I'd like to focus on is, what is the cause for the sin? Rashi begins with a simple question. Why is there no meat? After all, when they left Egypt, in addition to the Erev Rav, who Rashi emphasizes their involvement in the sin, the people also had lots of sheep and cattle, livestock, that was still in their possession 38 years later. Therefore, concludes Rashi, those who asked for meat were simply complaining. This is also how he explains the nostalgic reminiscing about life in Egypt, which we ate for free. The Egyptians wouldn't give them hay to work with. Now they're handing out free fish. Instead, Rashi says, they were free from the mitzvot. They didn't have to do anything. Rashi has a clear educational agenda. There's significant ingratitude going on here that explains Moshe's helplessness on the one hand and the severity of the punishment on the other. Those who come out looking bad are the people. Rashi could have replaced the story with a large sign saying, "Be grateful." It seems that in our case, Rashi has very little empathy for the children of Israel. Ramban moderates things a bit. According to him, the people suffered from temporary insanity combined with a severe case of a need for social equality. And no, that doesn't mean that everyone in favor of social equality suffers from temporary insanity. Avot, says Ramban, they had no shortage in the desert because they had manna to satisfy their needs and they could prepare it as various good dishes. But in their soul was a great lust, and as those who desire to eat coals and dirt and the moldy foods, meaning insanity. And when they said, who will feed us meat? Because the whole nation did not have meat to eat every day, even though the great ones ate as is the custom of the camps and the places of prestige, meaning inequality. Some had and some didn't. He also says that what happened in Egypt was based on a different interpretation of reality. As slaves, the Egyptian would throw them the leftover fish and vegetables, and that is what they were craving. Like O. Henry's story about the man who would look every winter for a reason to go be thrown into jail to protect himself from the cold and hunger. And we would rather do that than eat the same thing all the time. According to Ramban, the sin is less severe as there were mitigating circumstances. But it is still clear to the reasonable observer, reasonable meaning anyone who thinks like me, who is on the right side of the story and who's in the wrong. Chizkuni describes a slightly less clear case. According to him, the quails given to the people in the book of Shmot stopped, and indeed meat had become a rare food. The fish they remembered from Egypt would have arrived without hard work under the private supervision of God, according to the Midrash that said that they'd go down to the river, they'd pump water, and fish would jump into their buckets. And the Egyptians were never part of the equation. In addition, there was real fear. Since the manna was digested fully and there was no excrement, they thought it would kill them. Chizkuni has a lot of empathy for the people, which leaves us with a strong question. If we understand their difficulty so much, why do they deserve such a heavy punishment? Makah rabba me'od. Here's a short story that'll try to answer this very question, and sorry for the preachy tones. At my graduation ceremony, yeah, even I graduate, a judge told us about the first time he sentenced a 15-year-old boy to prison. Not knowing how he could do this to the young boy, he asked a more senior juvenile judge for advice. His answer was, remember, sometimes also imprisonment is an educational act. For me, the message from both our parasha and the judge were the same. Empathy is important, but it can't replace the fact that people are responsible for their actions. No real education takes place without remembering that the coin has two sides. If you enjoyed this video, please press like and pass it on to another friend. Maybe they'll enjoy it too. I'm Behaalotcha, one who loves Tanakh.